Hey everybody, and welcome back to my top 100 board games of all time. This is the 2022 into 2023 edition, and today I'll be counting down from number 50 to number 41, so we're into the top half of the list now. Now before I get started on the games, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer when it comes to buying board games in the UK. They have some fantastic games in stock at great prices, some fantastic loyalty schemes, and if you use my link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's get on with the games. At number 50, I have For Sale, which was actually number 51 last year. So it just found itself creeping back in to the top half of the list. And this has been one of my favourite filler games for the last 6 or 7 years, and it's actually ranked as high as number 10 of my favourite games of all time. And you know, this is still up there with my absolute favourite games. It's so good, especially in a game that takes 20 minutes or so to play, and it caters up to 6 players. So in this game, you are using your very scarce amount of money to acquire these properties in the first half of the game, and in the second half of the game you are using those properties in a simultaneous selection mechanism in order to acquire these different denominations of cash. Now what this means is that in the first half of the game, if you manage to find yourself or snag yourself a bit of a bargain, and then in the second half of the game, all the checks that come out are of high values, it means that you can guarantee yourself a profit on some of these cards that you've acquired. And I love this dynamic system of, you know what, I played the value 24 card to get that big check. You played the value 25 card, so you've just trumped me there, shifting me down that priority list and giving me a rubbish return on my investment where you've just squeaked the victory there. It's just such a dynamic game. It's so punchy, it's fast, it's engaging, and yeah, definitely almost like a trademark or a blueprint of what a filler game should be. Still just held up so well, and I adore this game. That is For Sale at number 50. At number 49, I have Boone Lake by Alexander Pfister. So this is new to the list because this did only come out last year, and I'm very happy with the way this game turned out. It feels like a true meaty Pfister game. It has lots of hallmarks of his other games, such as having kind of a player-determined tempo, where if you take certain actions, you can fly down this river, get bonuses as you go, but when you reach certain thresholds, then it's going to reset the whole round. So you can really catch people off guard if they've been dragging their heels and not been moving fast enough. I love this selection system where when you take these actions, you will get access to something, but everybody else will get access to something else. So as this element of engagement where no matter whose turn it is, you care about what's going on. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get buildings onto the board, you're trying to get farms out there and get your cows out there, all with the idea of increasing your income engine, because when it reaches, again, like the quarter, the halfway, the three-quarter, and the end of the game, you're going to get all your income from your player board, which is not only money, but also going to be victory points as well. You can build up a very powerful engine of cards. There's just so much going on here. Again, a kind of a kitchen sink style game, but I just love that idea of removing things from your board and getting better and better as you do so. So that is Boone Lake at number 49. At number 48, I have Ark Nova. So another strong debut game here, and Ark Nova was certainly a game that's taken the gaming world by storm this last year, and rightly so, because this game is fantastic. So Ark Nova is a card-driven engine building game all about building a zoo. So in this game, you are actually collecting these animal cards, all of which are massively different and unique in what they do. But you're also building the enclosures on your player board. You are trying to get these kind of partnership deals with different countries to get discounts on your animals. You're getting kind of conservation points by sending them off to your animals off to conservation projects, etc. And I love the victory condition in this game where you have to match your conservation points with the attraction level of your zoo. So it has this sudden death race feel to it, which feels very different to a lot of other games of this style. But my favourite thing about this game is the actual action selection system, as every action you can take is depicted by a card. There's only 5 of them, so it's actually quite easy to explain what to do. But the longer you neglect an action, the more it will charge up, which will make it more powerful when you actually trigger it. And that is such a fascinating concept there. And I love how to kind of map your head around it. Am I willing to trigger this action now? Because you know what, I don't really need it much stronger than this, so I'll use it, and maybe I'll wait a bit longer next time because I have a stronger card in my hand then, and I needed to play this card before this card because it's a prerequisite for this card. So yeah, loads of different kind of tactical elements here. You've got strategic elements as well, and yeah, just a real kitchen sink game which ties so harmoniously to the theme and makes it so easy to teach considering how rich and deep this game is. But yeah, a triumph, there's no doubt about that. That is Ark Nova at number 48. At number 47, I have Condos. So Condos is a game that's probably going on 30 years old now. And this is an area control style game where you're trying to control 3 adjacent regions on a map, or any 5 regions on that map. And you're going to do that by playing cards in your hand. And these cards are going to come in 2 different types really. The first of which are your basic troops that come in different strengths, I think varying from 1 all the way up to strength 10. And the other ones are a bunch of special cards, and these are really going to manipulate the state of play. But maybe it's going to double the strength of all your troops in front of you, or it's going to put everything down to strength 1, so it becomes a bit of a war of attrition rather than the actual strength of those troops. You can do things such as eliminating all the strongest troops on the board, etc. But the twist on this game is that the hand of cards that you get are going to have to last you for a long time, because you do not replenish your hand of cards when you spend them, and you only do it at certain points in the game. So you really do have to pick your battles very carefully. And even if you want to win this fight, you got to think, what, it's useful, but my real strategy is to get in this region, and I'm going to wait until that region's competing over, and then I'm really going to go in strong. So yeah, I love the card play here. One of my favourite hand management games, and yeah, I love that pacing and tempo. So that is Condos at number 47. At number 46, I have Tigris and Euphrates. So this has actually only fallen 1 spot from number 45 last year. So Tigris and Euphrates is a Reiner Knizia design that is unlike anything else he's put out there before, apart from Yellow and Yangtze, which is essentially the 2nd edition of the game. But this one is a pretty conflict-heavy game, as you are trying to win these little skirmishes and bigger wars in order to pick up these cubes. And these cubes are going to come in 4 different colours, and the trick is only the lowest valued, or only your worst category of colour is going to be your final score. So you can really run away with one cube type, but it's going to be irrelevant if you only have a low value of another one. So it's always about trying to boost up your lowest category. It's all done through tile placement, as you are placing things on the board, getting currency as you do so. But when you create certain formations of these tiles, you can end up putting these kind of structures on the board which will act as ticking points and will constantly generate new points each time it's your turn. But then other people can start trying to encroach on you and collecting them off you. So there's always this kind of jostling for position and trying to get what you need at the right time. So I love how interactive this game is. A game that's not the easiest to teach at times because there are some pretty out there mechanisms. Despite being a relatively simple game, I think you need a game or 2 to get things out of your system to understand how things really come together. But once you've got that out of your system, the game is so rich. It's just a beautiful design, and definitely unique. And it's hard to say that there's not many games out there that are truly distinct and unique in the board game space nowadays, and Tigris and Euphrates is one of them. So that is Tigris and Euphrates at number 46. At number 45, I have Shipyard. So I finally managed to grab myself a copy of this game because it is pretty rare and hard to get hold of. But boy, oh boy, I'm glad I made the effort and paid that little bit of a premium to get myself a copy, because this game is fantastic. So if you like rondelles in your Eurogame games, then I'm sure that you will love Shipyard. So in this game, you are basically trying to build boats. You're trying to build them in your shipyard because you have a limited capacity there. You can build huge structures or vessels. You can build lots of small ones. You are trying to put safety equipment on these boats, trying to make them faster, all with the aim of trying to score points, because the faster your boat goes, the more points you're going to get. But also you are trying to aim towards your personal objectives, which is going to be a big portion of your endgame scoring. I also love this system of having to collect these kind of route tiles, which will actually be the areas in which your ship sails into. And when you reach certain checkpoints on this route, which you're actually building yourself, you are going to get points based on different categories. So it might say, well, when you reach this checkpoint, get a point for this, or when you reach this one, get a point for this, and so on. So it has, again, that tactical element, but it also has that long game element of trying to get towards those personal objectives. I love the rondelles here because There's rondels everywhere, one of which you're getting your equipment, one of which you're getting these engine building benefits, and one of which you're collecting these goods, which you can sell. And there's kind of a stock market thing going on where you want to sell when certain goods are very valuable, and so on. So definitely, you're definitely very Euro in its essence, a beige looking game, but it has a certain charm about it in that respect. And yeah, definitely considered one of Vladimir Suki's best games, and I have to agree with that. So that is Shipyard at number 45. At number 44, I have Power Grid, another game with a marginal increase from last year because it was ranked at number 47 then. So this is a classic Euro game, very economic in its feel, as you are trying to acquire resources based on the supply and demand market. You're going to be trying to convert those resources into energy and to power your power stations. The more power stations you power, the more money you get, which means you can start venturing into new cities and establishing new power stations and so on. It has this real kind of cyclical nature to it, and I love how meticulously you can manage your funds, and I love that kind of hot demand and pressure to get into the regions before other players do, because if you are late to the party, then you're going to end up spending more and more money to do so, which of course is going to be bad because money is generally going to be your driving force in this game. A very tight game, one with small margins for error. The smallest mistake can cost you greatly here when it comes to determining the winner or not. But yeah, I love how simple this game is really, despite being very mathematical and very arithmetic natured, because it is a lot of counting, a lot of adding and subtracting and so on. But if you don't mind that and you actually find it rewarding by very carefully mathing things out, then you're going to get a lot of enjoyment from this one. Definitely, people still talk about this game now. It's been around for a long time, and yeah, it definitely deserves it because it's fantastic. That is Power Grid at number 44. At number 43, I have Anno 1800, another one space climber there, ranked at number 44 last year. So Anno 1800 is a Martin Wallace game, and one that certainly looks intimidating when you cast your eyes upon it for the first time, because there are a ton of pieces here, lots of different tiles that you can collect. But I love how much sense this game makes. It's very logical in the way it works. So essentially you're trying to fulfill the needs of your people, and you're going to do that by manufacturing different types of goods. But I love this kind of tech tree nature of the game, where in order to manufacture the more sophisticated goods, you are going to need to build the little piece parts in between. So, for example, if you wanted to start building ships, you're going to have to be able to make wood. You're going to have to be able to make cannons. You're going to have to make sails themselves by creating the fabric and so on. So you can really kind of start to see how things develop and see how things chain out and stuff like that. I like the interaction here as well, as you can piggyback on the efforts of other players. And yeah, it's just a cool game with a weird pacing to it, because you actually, when you end up increasing the ability to do things by getting more workers, I suppose, you end up drawing more cards, which is a pressure because the end game trigger is to fulfill all the needs of your cards. So sometimes you need to know when to add more people, or know when to stop and start going to try and complete all those cards to trigger the end game and hopefully win and be the player with the most victory points. Yeah, I love that kind of tech tree nature of it. Definitely a game that's kind of had its 5 minutes in the sun, but I don't really see people talking about it now, and I think they should be, because it feels timeless in its nature, and I think it's going to hold up for a long time. So that is Anno 1800 at number 43. At number 42, I have The Magnificent. So this is a dice drafting game that is boiled down into 3 pretty simple actions. The first of which is to collect these gems, and these gems are going to be used to amplify the power of your dice and let you trigger different abilities. And the second of which is to place tiles on your player board. These tiles work in a polyomino style way, where you're laying these different colours down, trying to cover up symbols to get bonuses. But those tiles will correlate to the third and final action, which is to perform. And when you perform, you are trying to fulfill the needs of these cards that you've got, which might say, in order to complete this card, you need to have 3 shapes of this type and this colour and so on. And if you do that, you're going to trigger off and you're going to get victory points, money, and so on. But it all boils down to this drafting system, which is colour coded. The more dice you take of a certain colour is great, because they start compounding on each other and letting you take stronger and stronger actions. But it means you're going to have to spend more and more money. And managing your money in this game is pretty damn difficult, especially in the first half of it. I said before, I tend to love dice drafting games. This one I played semi-recently, And it's going to fall in one of two camps. Because I love dice drafting games so much, they're either going to fall short of the mark because I expect too much, or they're going to have to be truly special for me to love them. And I think The Magnificent is just that. It is magnificent and it is special. So that is The Magnificent at number 42. And finally, at number 41, I have Messina 1347. So the second game here by Vladimir Suki. So Messina 1347 is the latest game of his that I've played. I haven't tried Woodcraft yet because it's not available here. But Messina I was so impressed with. This is like a worker movement style game, as you have this huge grid of Messina, all these hexagonal tiles connecting with each other. And from round to round, you're going to be moving your meeple around from hex to hex and taking the relevant actions. These actions are going to be things such as climbing tracks, collecting resources, building things. You're going to build like little structures in order to put these people you're collecting in to do work for you, which will kind of increase your engine building benefits. And also when you end up acquiring these people and venturing with certain tiles, some of those tiles are going to have play cubes on them, which is not a good thing, because if you end up having play cubes, they're going to cost you negative points at the end of the game. However, you do have this resource of fire, which you can spend to burn off those play cubes and get instant points and climb tracks. So I love how that works. There's this constant pressure of the game. I love the fact that when you end up taking civilians from plague-ridden areas, they have to go into quarantine for a few turns before they start, being able to put on your player board. But if you build certain building types, they can actually be productive for you while you're in quarantine and start generating new resources. Very well-rounded Eurogame. You can actually play this remarkably fast, especially at 2 players, clocking in at around maybe 60 to 75 minutes, which I think is great considering how much is going on here. And yeah, I'm just always impressed with the games that Vladimir Suki puts out, and it's good to see that he's maintained that level of quality from a game like Shipyard, which came out a long time ago, to his newest designs, such as Messina. So that is Messina 1347 at number 41. So there we have it. That's another installment of 10 games. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think of these games, because engagement from you guys really helps us kind of survive and grow as a channel. For everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye-bye.